Mike.
Andy.
Thanks for joining me. And welcome to Unlocking Human Potential.
Thank you for having me on, Andy.
Thank you very much. So today's guest, Mike Grundy, former UFC featherweight, elite grappler, and one of Britain's toughest competitors to ever step in the cage.
Yep.
Born in Wigan and proud.
That's true, very proud.
Mike is a professional mixed martial artist with a reputation for his relentless pressure and submission-heavy style that's earned him wins against the highest level opposition. Before the UFC spotlight, he represented England internationally as a freestyle wrestler, earning Commonwealth Games bronze medal, proof that his foundations were built on discipline, resilience, and years of elite competition. Today, Mike channels his experience in developing the next generation of athletes through his own coaching environment at the Grundy Fight Academy, while continuing to embody the mindset that carried him from the international mats to the world stage. He holds elite grappling credentials, including a black belt in luta livre and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and his journey is a masterclass in what it really takes to perform under pressure, unlock human potential.
Thank you, Andy. Sounds like I've done a bit there, eh? Sounds good.
Well, we've known each other a long time.
We have, yeah.
And so, I have seen...
You've been involved in a lot of it, yeah?
Along the way, how much effort that you've put in. And, the whole point of unlocking human potential is to kind of sit down with people like yourself, for listeners to kind of go, okay, so what can we take from people that have been pretty relentless in their careers? And one of the things I would certainly say from the way of style of just you as a human, how you've applied yourself, and the minute I got brought into your very first camp to today, where you're still applying yourself, walking into this gym, which is amazing and is massive. I've never actually been in this part, I've been in the other part, and just showing from what you've done and then what you are doing, it is a real privilege to sit down to you. So
no, I appreciate that, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think a lot of it is just because when you've got like me personally, when I've got a goal in my head, there's absolutely nothing that can waver that goal. Do you know what I mean? Nothing can stop me from getting to where I need to be, and I'm on that same path now. Obviously, I've done it as an athlete in two different sports with wrestling. When I was a young kid, I always wanted to go to the Olympics, go to the Commonwealth Games, medal at the Commonwealth Games, all them type of things that I did. And then I had the same goal with mixed martial arts, and I got to the highest level where I always said I'd get to. And now I have the same, one in business because of my gym, and two as a coaching role. So if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best in the world at it.
And hopefully during the next, hour or so, 45 minutes of this conversation, hopefully we can sort of unpick some of those insights that has made you still today almost as ambitious, just in different ways as you've always been. Yeah. And let's also point out you're also raising a young family.
Yeah, I am.
And you're building some young athletes. And it takes a lot, doesn't it? And I think...
It does. I've obviously got 4 kids. I had a son at 17, which was challenging in itself for my career in itself. I was trying to be a world-class wrestler, let's say. I was on the world-class program for wrestling, and I had a kid at 17, and that was very challenging for me and my family at the time. So yeah, I've got 4 kids, and I'm bringing a family up, providing for my family, and I'm obviously trying to, coach full-time, which is, it's like having another family as well. Really, when you're coaching a bunch of lads who's looking to fight and have the same goals I had. So it's very, very challenging. But, I love a challenge myself. And I'm professional, and I know I'll get to where I want to be, and I know I'll get the lads to where they want to be, and that's the main thing for me.
Yeah. And is that the kind of, normally when we're sat in this seat, our opening questions always around, something you're curious about, but I guess it's about what you're focused on at the moment. Yeah. So is that where you're focusing on the moment? Is that?
So right now, obviously, my family's priority. Yeah. But ultimately now I've got a group of lads and girls really who's starting to do mixed martial arts, who want to get to the top, to the highest level. I've got about 10 fighters underneath me now who's professional and amateur fighting mixed martial arts. One of them's been my son.
Yeah.
So that's, another little challenge on the side with coaching a group of athletes. Yeah. But yeah, that's my main focus in making them to become the best to their ability, really. And I feel I'm doing that one, I've been an athlete myself, obviously, and I've been at the highest level in 2 different sports. But 2, I feel I've had some good coaches and I feel I've had some bad coaches.
Yeah.
Not bad, but some things that wasn't done right. And now I feel I've learned so much from the good coach and the not so good coach, where I can make sure these athletes get the best knowledge and the best well looked after to make sure they can get to the top.
And I think what's quite nice about listening to that is that sometimes we can also learn from bad experiences, can't we? And
Massively. I think I've learned more.
Okay, yeah.
More so, I've obviously trained from 6-year-old right up to 38 now I am. So I've done a long time training and I've had a few different select few coaches. I've been all over the world and trained and been coached by different coaches. Yeah. So I've took something from all of them, from the good and the bad. And that's why now I feel this group of athletes that I've got now are gonna excel because like my experiences myself.
And I think what's quite nice is, and what as a conversation kind of expands, I think one of the great things with you is, and I've always admired that, is you're very open to be coached as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I think, and listen, you've always been a very, and if we're going to explore what made you the best. If I can share something with you, I think one of the things my experience has always been is you're always really eager to understand and learn, but also you do it, don't you? If someone says to you, I want you to do this 20 times, well, you'd probably do it 25 just to prove that you could do it.
Yeah, definitely. Just the competitiveness comes out to me, I can't help it.
I think it's great. So, so the podcast, Unlocking Human Potential, I want to look at 2 kind of big topics. I want to look at how do we get the best out of ourselves. So that might be, you could then, take your own experiences or the experiences that you've seen or through your athletic career, or, good experiences, good mentors, good advice that's been given that has helped you become the athlete you were. Or you can also look at what advice maybe you give to individuals to get the best out of. And then what I'd like to then explore is your coaching side, about how do people listening maybe take some of the skills that you've developed as a coach and then use those to get the best out of others, because that's a challenge, isn't it? We can be great athletes, but actually a great coach 100%. Or a great leader is very different. So again, how to do that. And then what we'll try and do at the end, because I think if people are going to listen to, selfishly, I like talking to you. So for me, this conversation's lovely. Hopefully you feel the same at the end.
Yeah.
But I think for listeners, the last 10 minutes, I think what's really good, if we can wrap it up and then kind of summarize some really good advice, so that people have given us 50 minutes of their time, and then we can go, right, these are the nuggets that we can really take away.
Yeah.
Happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
So if we just talk around unlocking your potential, I mean, when you talk around things that you may have done to get yourself, that made you, is there anything that stands out over your career?
I mean, like I said at the start, really, I mean, once, I was set on my goal and where I wanted to be, nothing could really alter that mindset, really, and get into where I needed to be. I think growing up, once I got to teenage years, really, I knew what I wanted. You know what I mean? I was a wrestler from 6-year-old, and I'd done pretty well as a young age anyway. Do you know what I mean? I was like the best in UK and stuff like that. Yeah. And I went international quite early. But once I knew what I wanted, then nothing could alter my mindset, really. So that was obviously the main thing, is getting that goal, understanding what you want, and just committing 100%. So there's a few things that in my life when I was from a teenager, I said I was going to do when I grew up. Did I mean? I know everyone, when they're growing up, I want to be a superhero, I want to be the first man on Mars, or whatever it is. I want to be an astronaut. Mine was like, I want to own my own gym.
Okay.
And we're sat in my gym right now.
We are.
Yeah. I want a car with my sponsored name on it, and I've got that. I've had that all my career. And I want to be a professional athlete. And I want to go I actually wanted to go to the Olympics. So that is one thing that I didn't get to the Olympics. I went to the Commonwealth Games and I wanted a Commonwealth Games medal, and I got that. So they're the things I said as a youngster coming through. And I did get them. And there is one thing, then I'll be honest with you. When I started mixed martial arts, I always said, I want to get in the UFC.
Yeah.
So that to me is a wrong mindset. So I said I want to get in the UFC, which is obviously a high level. But why would I not say I want to be the UFC champion of the world?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I got what I deserved. I always said I'll be in the UFC, and I got to the UFC.
Yeah.
But why would I not say like I want to be the UFC champion of the world? Why don't I want to be the best in the world? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that was something I figured out later on, and then I tell Jack, my son now, for example, who's fighting. So I said to him now, like, don't settle for being in the UFC. We're not here to be in the UFC. We're here to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was like when we don't need to do it. Do you know what I mean? You want to be the best at whatever you're going to do. So that's what I kind of tell my son now, Jack, who's coming through. He's a big prospect. But I say, any interview you do, any whatever self-talk, any visionary, your visionary is you being the best in the world, and that's it. You know, because I got what I deserved. Like I said, I always said, I'm going to be in the UFC. I'm going to be in the UFC.
Yeah.
I was in the UFC, but that's not enough.
Okay. Can we just roll back and explore? So you said from even at 6 and then into your teen years, you've had that mindset. That's quite and like you quite rightly said, a lot of people have that in the teenage years and have these big. What made it so real for you, as in like, because you've managed to maintain that, whereas a lot of people lose focus. So what do you think it is about you that we're able to lock in, maybe, to use the kids' terminology, so well at such a young age?
Like I said, I just think going back to that goal I have in my head, and I just can't, like, I'm probably just overly competitive, super stubborn, and like, if I'm going for something, like, I'm going to get that eventually. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy, obviously, you know what I mean? And you know yourself, you've treated me in physio and stuff like that. I've had some injuries, I've had some operations, things where people might say, I'm done here now, do you know what I mean? You know, so I just think that's it. You know what? I know I've got my one-track mind. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to get it. And even from a young age, I always said I didn't really, without saying anything, I don't really want to work for somebody.
Yeah.
This is what I want to be. This is who I want to be, and I was locked in on that. You know, I was at school. I wasn't bad at school, but did I really listen? Not much, because my plan A was to be a professional athlete and to be the best I can be at that. Do you know what I mean? So I never had a plan B at a young age. I didn't think, I'll study dead good because I want to be this. I'm just going to be an athlete, and that is it. So, and I think that's half the battle as well. Do you know what I mean? When you only have a plan A, there's no plan B to go back to.
It's quite brave, that, isn't it?
It is.
And maybe in hindsight,
It's scary, you know. You're telling people that's what you want to be. And yeah, it's scary because it's a crazy journey. And going into fighting and being an athlete is probably one of the hardest journeys you can go on. You know, wrestling's a very small sport in our country. We didn't get paid X amount of money to compete. Fighting early doors, you don't get paid money. Bear in mind, I've got a kid at 17, so I'm having to provide for him. And still, you know, I'm still getting to where I need to get to, where I've got, you know, my wife saying, my wife now, she wasn't wife then, but saying, you know, we need some money in. I mean, I'll tell you a story where how hard it was when finger. So there was one point where I'm a couple of fights in my pro career. You don't get paid much, you know what I mean? And I remember the time. These are the times that stick in your head and make you appreciate when you get to that UFC level and stuff. So I'm basically, my wife rang me, as you do, said, "We got shop on your way home." I'm on my way home from coaching. I'm going to the shop on the way home. She says, "We need some milk for the baby." This was me 9-year-old at this time, but he was a baby, 9 now. So we get some milk for the baby, and it's the Cow and Gate. It's about £10-11, and I had £5 in my pocket. I said, "He's good." I said, "We're not got no money." I said, "He's gonna have to go on full fat milk now." Did I mean early? So that was the time that triggered for me. It's like, wow, look at the position I'm in here. Like, I've got no money, but then I still went to training the day after and understood my goals and where I need to go. Do you know what I mean? I could have stopped then and gone, I'm just gonna have to get a job here. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'm just being stupid. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't. I understood where I was going to get to and where I needed to be. And that's just the kind of mindset I had. So, I mean, I had help, but at them times you think, wow, what we're doing here. But then I got myself back on track and I got on with it. Do you know what I mean?
And do you think that's come from just that? I mean, I can't imagine what that was like in that moment, but it was definitely the fact that even in those moments that you were so focused, do you think that just comes from that strength of mind that's going? That
I think
makes
it
you
is.
more determined, or
You know, just mental toughness.
yeah,
I feel like I know I am mentally tough. You know, I can deal with a hell of a lot. But yeah, I think that's just where it comes from. Do you know what I mean? You just gotta get that goal, and just nothing can change it.
And what were people around you like? You know, how were they? Were they supporting your dream, or
They were supportive, but you know, you sometimes got the feeling, and you know, even to my parents, you know, they was like, wow, you know, and my dad, I mean, he's passed now, my dad, but my dad, he was like, even my dad at one point was like, you may need to just get a job here, son, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, there's no chance.
okay,
Like, I'm doing it. I'm going to get there. I am going to get to where I need to get to. Watch.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So I'm all about proving people wrong as well.
yeah,
If someone tells me I can't do it, I'm doing it. So that was, you know, I think another word mindset comes into it.
Yeah.
You know, proving people wrong was one of mine. Not that's not for everyone. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's another reason why I try and get to where I need to get to. But yeah, my wife said, "Why do you not just go and get a job?"
because
Do you know what I mean?
and it's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, the day job I have now, we obviously met through me and my, you know, first career, should we say, as the physio, and now moving into kind of this coaching role that I do. You know, a lot of business leaders, it's really common in it when business hits bad, and I know you've now got the academy and this gym, which I might have said is wonderful. It's really, really nice. But there are times in business, isn't there, where people listening that go, well, I've never been a competitive fighter. But there's always days where the business is not doing well.
Yeah.
And, you know, and partners or people around you in family might turn around and be, you know, having the same conversation going, do you not think you should, this time to get a gym?
Yeah.
I think you should just, you know, maybe it's time you get a proper job, and, you know, and so I think there's going to be an awful lot of nodding of heads of people going, yeah, we've had those conversations, and I think there's an awful lot of crossover.
Definitely. But when I left school, I actually did a couple of years at college doing bricklaying. So I was doing bricklaying, and I was apprenticeship on site. And the guy who was an apprenticeship for, I think I was 16, 17, I said, listen, I'm going full time to be an athlete here. Do you know what I mean? At that time, we just found out that 2012 Olympics was coming for wrestling,
Right.
and we got took on the world class program, and I think I probably got about £400 a month to live off. And
Wow.
like I said, at that time I had a kid,
Yeah.
so £400 a month I was living on, trying to be a full time wrestler, freestyle wrestling. Anyway, so I left my job as an apprenticeship bricklayer, whereas like if another year or so I would have been full time bricklayer, and I would have been earning quite a decent money, do you know? But I stopped that. Anyway, the guy who I worked for at the time, he thought I was stupid. He couldn't believe that I was doing it, and he actually messaged me when I'd coming towards the end of my career in the UFC. He actually comes to this gym now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he messaged me saying, "Wow," he says, "I can't believe." He says, "When you left me," he says, "I thought, what a silly kid." You know what I mean? What a silly kid leaving bricklaying, X amount of money a week, and I'm only a 17-year-old lad. I've got a little family. I've got one kid, and he's leaving that to go and get £400 a month to train his ass off, and hopefully, that possibly go and get a medal at the Olympics, which is not going to change his life. He's just going to get a medal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's, you know, and he thought I was crazy, but he said, "Wow, how wrong was he?" You know, and he sent me that message, and I was obviously look back on that, and I thought, you know what, I did the right decision.
But I think you know, I'm sat here smiling in admiration, because I think, you know, the amount of people that see, you know, obstacles in your way to achieve what you've achieved, you know, and I've been very fortunate to spend a lot of the highlight reels moments with you, you know, and I think at any time of that way, how life could be different, but the fact that you know, your mindset has been so strong.
Yeah, and I think that is generally what's carried me through. And I think, without sounding like I'm some superhuman or anything, I'm not. But I think a lot of people would have stopped at the time. You know, I tell people now, like, obviously, I went through my career with even just one kid from 17. They said, "How did you do that?" I spoke to professional athletes. Said, "How did you get to where you got to with all the kids, and then the gym, and then this and that, the other?" And I said, just never altered my mind. I said that was where I was going, you know.
And has anyone supported that so along the journey? How have you? Is that something that you just naturally you feel that you obviously had that ability at a very young age to kind of, let's use it again, that lock-in of the vision of what you want to do, and you can envision you doing it. I know you were quite self-critical to say, well, if I did, you know, of a UFC career, well, I said I'd only get to there. Whereas, you know, there'd be so many people, let's be honest, the popularity of mixed martial arts these days compared to when you probably started, you know, it's a phenomenal achievement, isn't it? You know, I understand but how have you along that, how have you maintained that strength of mindset? Is that something that it's always come from internal, or have you learned stuff along the way that's helped you develop that more, or where's that come from? Or is it just internal?
I think it'd be internal. I mean, because without, like, my family, you know, I mean, there's five of us. I've got 3 sisters and a brother, and all of us has wrestled, or done something like that. But none of them's like excelled onto where I excelled onto. You know, Sarah went to a Commonwealth Games. She did well, but none of them's like stuck with it, gone to where I got to. But so I don't know if it's I mean, and my parents were very supportive. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, but they weren't like, I don't know if they was fully expecting me to get to where I got to. Do you know what I mean? But so I don't think it's like something that's come from that background. If you know what I mean? I think it's just something me growing up and
just being driven.
I just knew what I wanted. And that I think that's just generally.
I think there's loads of lessons I learned from that, because I think so many people, you know.
I think hardship as well, though. Do you know what I mean? A bit of hardship helps for especially a fighter's career or a combat sports career. I think you need a bit of hardship. You know, like I said, when I was looking in my pocket, I had £5. I need to buy baby's milk for £10. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm gonna have to do something here. Do you know what I mean? That type of things. And we had a lot of hardship when we was growing up. Like I said, it was 5 of us. My mum and dad in a small house, and not trying to make it out like I've had a tough upbringing. Mum and dad did what they could, but it wasn't, you know, we wasn't not have much money at all. Do you know what I mean? My dad had to work out. I mean, I think my work ethic actually does come from my dad, because he was out, you know, 12 to 14 hours a day, like working hard work. So I think a lot of work ethic comes from him. But like I say, I think hardship helps and he finds you as a person.
Yeah, but you've then had to maintain that motivation, haven't you? And I think that's one of the things I'm picking up from listening to you, is that, you know, yes, there is a level of hardship, and yes, things didn't fall in your favour when Jack, which now he's, you know, he's a lovely lad, isn't he? You know, and it's still, you know, just even then, you know, meeting him again, he's always got a smile and stuff, and you've done a fantastic thing, and you've got a lovely family, you know, so, and you've had a brilliant career, so you look back and you know, and you're creating some wonderful things.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I think, you know, there were so many paths along the way that you could have, you know, moved away from, couldn't you? You could have quit fighting, you could have gone back bricklaying, and you could have been building somebody else's houses.
Yep.
Whereas, you know, I get the impression that your goal is to almost keep moving to say, right, how can I build my own house kind of thing, and get somebody doing the brickying for me while I'm sat there with my brew.
That's another one of my goals.
Yeah.
I want my own ice built. That is one of my goals. That's the only one I don't think I've really done just yet. But like I said, I've got my gym, I've got my sponsored car, and I've been a professional athlete. But I do want to build my own house, yeah.
Nice. So I guess, you know, now is thinking about you as a coach, how do you kind of bottle up some of the stuff that you've got? Because it's quite a unique mindset, isn't it? Let's be honest. And there's going to be loads of people listening where all the opportunities where you could have gone, you could have changed direction, you've stayed on your path, haven't you?
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of people listening that may not have always been as disciplined to stay on the path of what they first did.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of people that, I mean, it's a tough life to live in it as an athlete, as a professional athlete. Injuries, there's so many little things that come into play where I think people, you know, will stop.
So how do you then kind of almost bottle up what you have got, which feels quite natural? Use the word stubbornness, you know. That was your word, not mine, but I'll use it. How do you then bottle that up to then kind of, from a coach perspective, can install some of those traits in others? What have you taken from your career that you can now bring forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I've been coached by a lot of different coaches from all over the world, and I've took a lot of positive things from good coaches, but I've also been taught by people who do things 100% correct. I don't think anyway. That I've took from them.
Yeah.
But as a mindset to my athletes and even to my son, and I just tell them now I've told you, you know, if that's what, like when, for example, Jack, when he said to me he wants to be an athlete, he wants to be a professional athlete. You know, I told him, I says, like, because I don't need to really live this life again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said, but if you wasn't good enough, I'd tell you, and I do that for any athlete. So if I felt they wasn't good enough, like, I mean, to a certain extent, I'd have to tell them, because the life you have to live to get to where you need to get to is very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I'd explain it like that, you know. So I'd be honest with them first of all, even if I was to lose an athlete, let's say. But I'd be honest with them. I'd always be honest with them.
Just on that, can I? Okay, I'm just curious then.
Yeah.
What happens if someone had said that to you? Because how old are these athletes? That just for give some context. How these
Between 20 and 25. Really.
So if someone had 20 and said to you, "You're not good enough," what would you have done?
I mean, I don't think I'd word it like that. You're not good enough.
No, I appreciate you.
But yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah,
I get the
see,
impression
now you say it like that,
yeah.
it'd be very hard. Do you know what I mean? Because I'll tell you one. I'll not say it, but one story that I got told, and it didn't, like, it still didn't alter my mindset.
Okay.
So, a coach, he did this to more break me down to build me up.
Okay.
So let's not like discredit the coach.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who it is, but let's not discredit the coach. But he did this to break me down to build me up. So basically, what he did, he sat us all down, all the fighters in the class, and he said, "Grundy, you never get into UFC." So then my dreams were like in my head, like, wow. So you never get into UFC. You said you're not. He didn't say you're not good enough. He said your style is not what they want, because I was predominantly a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
You never get into UFC, and said it in front of all the class, and I just was quiet and head down, not happy, you know what I mean, upset kind of thing, but thinking, okay. But I went home and I still come back in training the same night, because I thought, well, it can't be, because in my head I'm still getting there, do you know what I mean? And then, like I say, he brought me down to build me up. 2 weeks later, I got my UFC contract.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So he knew I was in the UFC.
Yeah.
But he did that to, why, I don't know, but to break me down, to build me up. But
maybe a test of commitment or whatever.
yeah, but I was in, obviously, all the time for that. And but that was, again, a testament to my mindset, where like,
yeah,
oh, no, I'm going to get there.
Keep going.
I'll get there.
So I'm assuming from that you're going to use a different approach with some of your...
I would use a different approach. If ever a person is, well, if they're like losing fight after fight,
yeah,
at a pro level, let's say, at an amateur level, it's about learning, isn't it? But when you get to pro level, they're losing fight after fight, and you know they're taking damage and they're not progressing. You can see that as a coach. I think, you know, like I was talking about before, but you said I'm like still always quite wanting to learn, and you can see that as a coach. If you're coaching an athlete and they're not willing to learn, or they're not coachable,
yeah,
then for me it's kind of game over, because the second you stop learning, like I'm a black belt in two different, in Luther and like BJJ,
yeah,
and I've competed at the highest level in two different sports. So like, but I don't stop learning from anyone. Like, for example, I'll do gi. I've been to Ian's.
yeah.
I'm constantly learning there, but then there's purple belts in the gym in Liverpool that'll help teach me stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, and I'll take anything from anyone. Do you know what I mean? Just then.
But again, you've got to be, and again, it comes back to the point of, you know, and I think what I'm kind of learning from listening to this is that also the concept of going, you've got an open mindset to learning, haven't you? That growth, they call it growth mindset, don't they? Where actually, even somebody, so for listeners that are from a non-grappling or jiu-jitsu background, a purple belt isn't quite as good as a black belt. Hopefully they don't recognise that.
Yeah,
It's quite a bit of a difference. But what we're saying is that the fact is that even somebody that is theoretically less skillful actually has something to offer. And I think that is a really good lesson. Actually, we can learn from anybody, can't we? And actually, but you've got my challenge, my thing with this is you've got to be open to that, haven't you? And I think one of the things that you've always been is open to change.
100%.
They
can like now. I teach obviously my athletes, the fighters, but then one of them will come up with something, and I'll say, they're like, yeah, good, makes sense. I'll get all the class in and let them teach it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's because they've just kind of taught me something. So then it's about just being, like I say, open-minded and be able to accept that. But this and I've been across people who can't, they don't feel they can learn from, if they're a black belt, they can't learn from a brown or a purple belt, let's say. But that's not the right mindset for me.
But it's a really closed thought process, isn't it? And I think that's and it's certainly been a thread of a lot of the podcasts that I've got with people who are, like you, have achieved some brilliant things. I've got a really good, but also open to learning from somebody who is probably less experienced, and that you're willing to do that. And I know this podcast is all about you, and we're going to keep it about you, but I want to share a story because and I'll see where this lands with you. So one of the things I know when you were looking to UFC, this is the kind of mindset and the reason why I wanted to bring you on this podcast. And I'd never seen it, and I've been fortunate in a lot of my career to work with a lot of elite athletes of all different disciplines. And we almost got summoned to Liverpool University, where you'd put together a team because it was like, right, if I'm going to do this, who do I need people around me to the best? So you recognised that actually part of your being the best, this camp of people. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, how, especially with at MMA at the time, we're going back quite a long time now, showing our age here, is the sense of going, whereas now, I interviewed the PI of the head of the institute the other day for the UFC, and one of the, and how they deliver S&C and nutrition stuff is pretty standard in it. They've even got an institute. Whereas you were actually creating your own performance institute for yourself.
Yeah. I was doing that 16, 17 years ago as an amateur.
And that was the thing that really made me sit up and go, oh my God, this not only is this lad serious, he's bringing in really good people. And I remember sitting in that meeting and just a part of me was smiling, thinking, what an absolute, not only prepared to put yourself on the line with, having those uncomfortable conversations with definitely just say, no, we can't afford, but also prepared to be bringing in people around you that knew that you were going to support you to take you there. That mindset alone, it really, really impressed me. And it's probably one of the reasons why I just went, I need to follow this guy on his journey, because I just love the fact that your thought processes along the way. And I think, again, bringing you back to your coaching role now, because I know that's something that you're really, really passionate about now. So again, you've talked around some of the coaches, some good coaches you've got. What are the good things that, we can talk around some of the things, the less good things that you've learned from if you want to, but what are some of the good things that maybe other coaches have done that you've started adopting and it's become part of you as a coach?
I think the main one, really, from probably the better coaches that I've ever had, is half the battle is with coaches is the time and the effort that they put in. Do you know what I mean? So that's like 60-70% of the stuff. So that even if they're not, like, obviously they've got to be technically half good. Do you know what I mean? But even if they're not technically the greatest, but the time and effort they put into you, do you know what I mean? That's what's most important, isn't it? If you've got a coach that you feel you can always rely on, whether it's in training or out of training, I think that's it. You've got to be involved with their lives a little bit outside of training as well. Do you know what I mean? So like, I've had coaches like that. Like, okay, Mike, you good today? You feeling all right? Family all right? Blah blah blah, whatever. Bit more involvement outside of them. It's not just like in the training room, gone. In training room, gone. Do you know what I mean? And I try to do that with the lads now a bit more. My son has no choice, obviously. Do you know what I mean? I know he's like inside and out. But like supporting them outside. We had 2 lads open up their own gym. Right. just a normal fight gym. So I try to my best to like tell them how it goes and help them, get mats, get the correct mats, and turn up on their open day,
Yeah.
to, you know, to try and support them and stuff like that, support them on social media as much as we can. Just like I said, being in the lives like for you kind of got to be all in, you know, with them, and I think that's half the battle. And having a positive mindset themselves, no negative mindset. I think that as a coach, do you know what I mean? I think you can't come in. I can't come in coaching all my athletes slouching down. Oh, I'm tired today, lads. I'm tired today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've seen that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're tired? It's like, you know, like you kind of like competing against them. You understand, you know, if they're coming tired.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they've been training all week, and you start telling them, "Well, I'm tired too.
Yeah.
I'm tired too." So, what do you mean? Like, you can't talk like that. So it's like, listen, lads, you know, you've got another day's training.
Yeah.
Pick yourself back up. Let's smash it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know, and that's it's about picking them up. And I think it's the mindset side of things what's important as a coach, as well as obviously technical and stuff, but man management.
Yeah.
Man management, because everyone's different. You know, and I think that's important coming from coaches. You know, like I might need something different to the next guy needs. And I think that's what some stroke coaches struggle with. They treat everyone the same.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're not. Some need an arm around them.
Yeah.
Some don't. Some need a bit of shouting at. And
how have you developed that skill? Because it is a skill, isn't it? That being able to read a situation, read what people need, what different. And some people don't even know themselves, do they?
Yeah, I feel I'm quite a good judge of character. But I think, you know what, with the man management side of things, I think I've learned a lot from owning the business.
Okay.
So it's where it transfers over.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I've got about 4 or 5 staff who watch the reception, but I've got about 10 PTs.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of work everyone a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know, so some might need, you know, like a bit of a shouting at, get on with that. And some might need, you know what, you did good there, but you could do it this way.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the same as how you work your athletes. That's how man management is, but you can't just treat them all the same.
But I think that's a massive thing, isn't it? Of like, and there is always an assumption in there that if you're a fighter or you're a wrestler, that actually you're going to behave the same. And it was interesting when you were talking about there is like, you're also interested about the world outside of the gym, because how they come into the gym might be nothing to do with you as a coach or nothing to do with them as a fighter. It could be stuff that's going on in their own world. Yeah. And I'm sure there were times when you walked onto the mat and you just had a conversation with Debbie to say, actually, I can't afford the milk. Yeah. There's a, you know, that people might have seen another 5-10% of energy, and you are already quite an energetic soul on the mat. Yeah. We can contest for that when we've come to the wrestling seminar and all the lads are aghast. Yeah. You know, so I think it's really important. And is that something that I know you said there that was what's benefited you is coming from the business. And do you think some of those skills, so, you know, learning, developing more and more people, do you think that's going to help you in your coaching style and moving forward more? Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I think man management with the athletes, is that what you mean? Yeah. Yeah. With the athletes is very, very important. Do you know what I mean? And being open and honest with them, you know, like just that, even to the, because obviously now, like, I'm coaching them, but I'm obviously like sorting the matches out, who they're fighting next. Okay. And being open and honest with that side of things. Yeah. With them, so then they know where they stand. Whereas I've had coaches that's not. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't know when you're fighting next, and then you know, so you don't know who you're fighting, kind of thing. And it's just like I'm being a bit more open and honest with the contracts that they get from the managers or from the organisation. I'm just like everything's just like open with them really, and I think that's the best way to be. So then they know they can trust me. Yeah. So if I gain the trust, and they're going to kind of give me the work. And I guess does some of that come from your experiences? So again, from ways that you probably were treated that you think didn't work well for you. You think, right, now I'm a coach, I'm going to take what didn't work well for me and I'm going to behave in a different way. Yeah, more so the way I was treated. So basically I was a guinea pig for them. Yeah. Okay. So, but how I feel that wasn't right. Yeah. Now then I'm making sure they don't get treated like that. But I think it's important that, I think there's an important lesson from lots of people listening that even when we're in bad situations or treat badly, there's still lessons to be learned, because we can take those and go, well, I didn't like how I felt in that situation. So therefore, if I'm ever in that situation, the way I behave has to be different from that, doesn't it? And so that's what's helping me as a coach now, because a lot of people, what they probably do in that situation, they'd be like,
oh, well, I got treated like this. They'll be negative, oh, I got treated like this and that wasn't right. They'd complain about it, let's say play victim a little bit more. But me, I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm not making sure my son doesn't get treated like that and the people who I coach don't get treated like that. So like, I know that's a big lesson learned from me, and I make sure that no one's under me will get treated like that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think it's important because I think it's also important to highlight, because I think in a lot of situations there's a learned behaviour. You know, the fact that some people have been treated badly and then they go, well, I'm now in a leadership or coaching position. Well, I'm just going to behave exactly like that because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And that behaviour carries on, doesn't it? And those traits, the less good traits, carry on.
True.
Whereas what you've recognised is going, well, that was a less good trait, so I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to behave in a complete opposite way to make sure that the athlete on the other side never feels like I feel.
Yeah, that's true.
And do you think that then helps them? You use the word trust. Does that, you know, and it's a big, I'm assuming it's quite a big part of the kind of.
Trust is a big part in it. You know what I mean? They don't trust me, then they're not really going to fully give me their all. Or
And in the game you're in, when they walk in, and the fanboy is going to come out of me now. You know, well, the great thing with, especially from watching MMA for the last 20 odd years or whatever, we've been privileged to watch it. You know, you can see, especially in the amateur shows, when the cage door shuts, who's actually really prepared and who's not.
Yeah, that's it.
And, you know, you've got to have trust in your coaches, haven't you? Because the minute you're in there and you're alone,
it's all in you, isn't it?
In whatever size the octagon it is.
Yeah.
And it's just you, and that guy goes, oh, actually, I've got these little gloves on and I'm really going to try and punch you as hard as I can.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to trust in your coach and the skills that you've got to be able to do that. And is it something you have to, you know, around trust? Is that a skill, again, you aware that you're developing, or is it just something that comes, you feel like it's just been a growing thing that you've developed?
I just think I live by them rules, do you know what I mean? Through my life, you know, like, be a trustworthy person, be a loyal person. I think that's a lot of it in this sport as well, and it's sadly dwindling out with the younger ones. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a lot of younger ones coming through now. They've got 3, 4, 5 coaches.
Okay.
And 4 teams, and so it's dwindling out. It's not with our team, you know. We've got one team. We've got me and John, who teaches the classes, let's say, and we're together. But now that the kids that's going through, they've got too many. It seems like the athletes are running the show. You know what I mean? Even from a young age. But there's just there seems like there's a lot of disloyal, and I don't really like that about the sport right now, because I have obviously come through the wrestling circuit, and it's all about, you know, be loyal to your coach and be loyal to your team. But it seems to be getting lost a little bit in our sport right now, I think.
And is that probably one of the challenges moving forward for you, is just dealing with this kind of next generation of fighters?
Yeah, I think so. But to be honest, the kids like I coach from a young age now, because I don't just coach at high level. Do you know what I mean? I coach the young kids.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that's important as well. Do you know what I mean? Being a coach, because you can't just go, all right, coach these athletes, and then you give them a technique, they got it straight away. You know what I mean? Like they're easy to teach. They're there because they want to be there. They're there because they want to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, kids, obviously, it's a different kettle of fish teaching a bunch of kids. Do you know what I mean? They're there. Some are there because the mum and dad want them to be there. Some are there just because they're getting bullied, or some are there because, you know, they maybe do want to be good at it, but they don't even know why they're there, some of them. But so obviously you've got a bunch of diverse, but teaching the kids helps me teach the pros. Okay. Because you've got to deal with all these different mindsets, you know, and, you know, different abilities. Yeah. And, you know, like you see a lot of mistakes within the kids, so then you do see them in the pros as well, and you think, okay, you know, I've seen the kid doing this other day, like, you've got to do this. You know, so I think there's a lot of pros to keep teaching kids while you're still teaching pros. It's obviously time consuming, but I do generally love seeing kids develop and change, and more so, not about the technique, more so about the mindset. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You've got some vulnerable kids coming to our gym, and just because we instill a bit of, let's say, so like we have certain rules around the mat, you know, when they're wrestling. It's like, don't leave the mat until you ask the coach. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Don't talk when a coach is talking. You know, make sure you're drilling and you're not talking. So there's all little rules. You know, if you're late, you get your press ups. All them type of things. Yeah. Just instills good morals for the future. And that's where I kind of think I've got all my morals from wrestling, because
Yeah.
wrestling's just an hard sport. But because my coach instilled all them into me, you know. And you see it because we've got athletes that's not carried on wrestling, but they've gone on to do good things, whether it's to be a good worker or whether it's to be like, we've got kids who's from 6-year-old gone on to play for Wigan Warriors. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I know it works.
But also, I think the nice thing with Dan is, like you say, you're also creating a life skill traits, aren't you?
That's it.
You know, and that's the thing I've always loved about martial arts is I love the thing of the level of discipline it teaches you. You know, one of the things I think discipline, you know, just listening to your story from where you are from 6 years old to today, I think discipline's been a big part of it, hasn't it? You know, you've even when people have attempted to kindly tell you you're not going to achieve stuff, you still have the discipline and the mindset to turn up that evening. You know, I think, and that comes from, like you've said, from the coaches that you've had as a youngster, but it's what you're installing in others. And even, I mean, achieving half the things you've done for most of the people are probably going to step on the mat. They're never going to do it, are they? Half the people that probably step into a cage amateur fight is never going to even make the UFC, if never make a pro career.
Yeah.
Because when the going gets tough, a lot of people bail.
Yeah.
But actually, or injury or whatever lifestyle. But again, if you've got the discipline to then be able to realise that actually, well, if I can turn up to work at 7 o'clock every single day, and I can commit to making sure I turn up every single day and I can provide for my family. But those disciplines have come from, like you've said, from those young days.
Yeah.
You know, there's a part of me that still believes that you've set something to achievement. You smiled when you turned around and said that you've seen kids from 6 years old that have gone on to play for Wigan.
Yeah.
There was
that's one I always tell people.
Yeah.
You know, the one of the kids wasn't, you know, he wasn't technically great, you know what I mean? But he got it in the end and he got better, you know what I mean? But he had a good work ethic, you know, he was on time, he was disciplined, and all them type of things. It doesn't just like get you to it, it makes you more coachable in the future.
Yeah.
To the mean, so because you've had them little things instilled into you at a young age, you know, be loyal to your team and all that type of stuff is what I instill.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of that coaching's, like I said, dwindling out within our sport and MMA, because coaches do let, I'm not saying you shouldn't let them, like, for example, the way I work my gym is if I've got a session on in the gym, then you should be at that session for your team and your coach.
Yeah.
But if I've not got a session on and you want to do extra training on another day, let's say, whatever, another day, you can go to another gym and train extra.
Okay.
That's fine. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like a control freak. You have to be in here all the time. You can't go anywhere else. Go to someone else. It's good to have another voice, another coach. Go and get different training partners. That's fine. But don't like miss our training session to go to another training session.
Yeah.
Because then you're deserting your team and you're deserting your coach. You know what I mean? So your team needs you.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. They're the rules I've always followed. They're the rules my dad always followed, and it kind of worked for us. So, and that's what I get with loyalty. You know what I mean? But I'm also a coach that recognises, okay, this kid's by far the best in the team. He needs another training partner. He needs more training partners. You know what I mean? And I'll always find that option. It's like my own son now, for example. He is very good in the team, and he's struggling to get partners who's testing too much. So that he's going to Brazil next month.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? So he's going to go to Brazil for a month and train there for a month. Do you know what I mean? And I recognise that as a coach, and it's important to recognise that as a coach. I could just hold him here with me and look after him, but he's not going to get the right training that he needs. You know what I mean? He gets the right coaching, but he needs the training partners, and he needs to come out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sending him to Brazil, some rough-ass gym in the middle of Brazil, will only make him grow as a person.
Yeah, it will.
Which is tough as a coach and a dad.
Yeah.
But so he's got to go and be uncomfortable for a bit.
Yeah, but that's also good insights from you that you've recognised that, isn't it? Because for some people, you know, having the belief to realise that actually there's something that you can't do, and that person needs, that athlete needs something else that you can't offer, and being open, honest, brave, whatever, to turn around and say, look, in my opinion, you probably need to go there because that's going to improve you even more. And you can't offer that. I think that also shows you the humility. Is that the right word? Humility.
You're asking me now.
Your humbleness, because you are, aren't you? You are a humble guy all the way through this. You've never, even through this whole conversation, there's never a sign of an ego that comes across. And I think that obviously the fact that you recognize that is only going to help them, and actually what's important is the development of the athlete. I think it's a skill, Mike. I generally do. And I think it's something which probably, I don't know if you recognize it enough, but I don't think enough leaders, and you are now leading the team, you've led yourself amazingly well, with a phenomenal strong mindset, on a phenomenal journey. You're now leading a team here in this gym. You're obviously leading in the Fight Academy gym, but also you're recognizing that actually to get the best out of each individuals, you are, offering those things. And I think that alone is a superpower. And I just wish more people, hopefully people listening to this, will recognize that actually it's a strength to recognize your own limitations or the limitations of the environment you've got. So you're saying the fighters in your gym that maybe need more of a challenge in different ways, and they can't get that in the environment they're in. So therefore, in different environments, you're going to get that. You recognizing that, I think, is a real strong power. Yeah.
It's just like you say, it's about the man management as well, though, I mean, and understanding what people need and want in order to get better.
But it's a skill, that, isn't it? It's a skill of recognizing that. So
it's about letting go as well. And you like I said, not having a big ego. He's mine, and he can't go anywhere else, and all that. We don't need to do that, because ultimately it's about the athlete, and it's about the athlete getting the best and becoming the best they can be. And that's what I do recognise. We've got lads on all different kind of paths. We've just had 3 lads on their amateur career, and one his pro debut. And then next week we've got a lad retiring. Did I mean his last fight retiring? So they all manage different, and you just got to try and make it the best journey and memories you can for them. And I think that's why, because I'm all about like the memories and their journey and how they can have their best ability. I think that's why I understand. Okay, Jack has to go there for now. That I mean, just for a month, just to find himself, have a bit of hardship, because we were talking about hardship before. You know what I mean? He's coming home now, dropping his washing at home. His mum does his washing. Now he's going to have to go back to some little apartment in Brazil and do his own washing, get his own food, cook his own food. So all them type of things is a little bit of hardship. There's a language barrier in Brazil. He's going to have to figure out how to talk and get things done and whatever. So, which is hard for a dad. Yeah. And not so much as a coach, but as a dad, it's hard to like, all right, you're going to have to go there for a month.
He'll have an app on his phone, won't he?
Yeah, he'll be outside, but he'll figure it out. He's actually quite, he's good, do you mean?
He is, yeah, he is. So just before we start wrapping it up, is there anything that you want to share that we've not already talked about, or anything I've not touched on already that you want to talk about?
No, really. I mean, I think we pretty much touched on everything as far as my career, and the hardship of being a fighter and being trying to hold a career together, let's say.
But I think there's so many insights and there's so many crossovers from your career that I think, the world in the business and leadership, I think a lot of people are, you're finding it through your business at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think, but me being my career has only helped me with my business, do you know what I mean? Again, having that mindset that I'll make this gym to where it needs to be. But to be honest, I've got a business partner, Danny, and he is like, his mindset is unreal in business, do you know what I mean? He has got an unbelievable mindset in business, very successful in another business, and this business obviously. But yeah, he does mentor me a little bit as well. It's good. So he's very good. So it's good to have him. But it just transfers over from the fighting to this, the competitiveness. It all transfers over, and being professional in it as well.
Yeah, and I think I don't think anyone's ever met you along the way can ever challenge your professionalism. That's something that's always sat there, hasn't it? From, always stayed in shape, haven't you? You never shirked your S&C sessions. You never shirked sessions.
No. it goes back to that day, Andy. You said it was all sat on that table, and I was getting a meeting together with the best people to make me the best I can be. That's professionalism.
It certainly was. The funniest thing was me looking around the room, wondering what on earth I was doing at the table at the time.
Man. Man.
So just to kind of bring up some advice for listeners. So what practice, if we were to then think about, we've shared so many insights in this, what kind of 3 practical things do you think people could try? So reflecting on your career, reflecting on from the fight career, from the business, what are 3 things that people could take from this that they could do well themselves?
First of all, I think is find out what you want to be or where you want to be, and like don't let anything else alter your mindset to get into that goal. I think that's just the main thing you need to really focus on. Don't let anything alter that goal. That was my mindset. I just knew where I wanted to be, and that was it. And I had no plan B, and that was the only option. And I think that's kind of the advice I could give anyone. Be professional, and just treat people how you want to be treated yourself is what's important, because I think that always comes back around. You know what I mean? So you're more investable or more. People's more likely to come back to you just because you've been honest and nice and kind or whatever.
Yeah.
I think most people's going to come back to you, because you've been right with them, And I think that I follow by them morals and them standards and them rules, and I think it's come back around for me. I think we've stayed in touch all the time because I feel you treated me right and I've treated you right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's come back around.
100%, I think.
And I have the same relationship with everyone who we sat on that table together, like we said at the start of my career. I see Bob, I see you, and we talk all the time. So
I know it's lovely.
I think that's important.
100%, and I think how we treat people or humans as humans is so important, and it's I think that's come through all of what you've just said as well.
Yeah.
How you have been treated before, your good and bad, you've then learned from that, and it's how you then treat people through your man management. So I think that
100%
through. What principle do you wish every leader understood? So now you're in your leadership position. What's the one thing that you wish more people or more leaders understood?
So probably going back to. Do you mean as in like? So like I would say man management is what we talked about. Yeah. I'd say man management. Recognizing that not everybody's the same. Not everyone needs the same treatment.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs treating differently. I'd say that is one of the most important things I've learned from having a business.
Yeah.
Because I would have understood it. I think more I got into coaching, but even like you learn it from teaching kids. Not every kid's the same.
Yeah.
To me, by far. And then it's same with adults. Not every adult's the same either.
No, I love
and people learn in different ways.
Oh, hugely, and I think it's really important that you recognise that and to kind of lean into Stephen Covey's seek to understand. Because I think a lot of not everyone recognises how well they learn.
Yeah.
So actually helping them find their best learning style as well, and then sharing that with you. I think
and it translates to anything in life, doesn't it?
I agree.
I mean, business, sport, whatever it is.
But attitude, role modelling to your kids, if that's, how you turn up at home and how you behave is what your kids role model. Your kids obviously role modeled you.
Yeah.
Because he now wants to, I'm sure his goal is to try and
he's got to be
reach.
He's got to be the UFC champion of the world.
That's it.
That's his only mindset. That's his only vision. Yeah, he's got to.
Yeah.
He definitely. Well, he will, but he definitely does want to get further than I ever got, and I think he will definitely.
He's a very.
Well, I know he will.
What actions could people be taking that you think? So from listening to this, based on your career, based on you as a coach, what do you think actions people listening could take from this?
One thing I always did as an athlete would be anything you do, ask yourself the question of, does this make me get to any closer to my goal. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that always stuck with me. So, you know, if there's a chocolate bar there and there's something healthy there, and I'm like, does having that make me get close to my goal? Obviously, that's a very small amount of it, but I'm saying that's same with business, same with anything. Does making that decision get me closer to where I need to be? And I think that's the question I kind of ask myself on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Love that.
Does that decision make me get to being, well, I said in the UFC, but I should have said UFC champion.
Well, but again, what's the whole good thing of that? These conversations and reflections is people listening now will change the goal, won't they? Because of how you
aim as high as you possibly can aim. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but I think us as athletes are very greedy. I think we're greedy people. I think because I think if I got the UFC belt, I would have wanted to. See what I'm saying? Just like McGregor, for example, he got his belt, he wanted to, but then he wanted to go boxing and fight Mayweather and things. So there's new goals that come on the way, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? But
I think that's all. I think if you are competitive, I think that's that constant.
Going to be a thing,
But it's the drive, isn't it? And there's always going to be something different, and that's why there's the whole point of just embrace the journey. Because actually, when you achieve the goal, sometimes you have a bigger goal anyway.
Yeah.
So it's more of embracing the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's important to make new goals.
Oh,
Otherwise you get bored.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. So for people listening, where can people find you? How can people follow you?
So I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just Mike Grundy, Mike_Grundy on Instagram. Twitter, I don't use it as much at the minute, but Instagram's mainly where I get on. I'm on Facebook as well, so give me a follow on that.
Yeah, definitely. And what is it, something you're working on next?
Working on next, like I said, I've got a goal of building my own house.
Yeah, nice.
But as that side of things, but really as obviously my coaching role, which is my main focus, is, I mean, short term, you know, we've just got a few new lads going pro.
Nice.
Short term, get into the UFC, but long term, I want the UFC champion.
Love it.
The UFC champion, which I will get.
Definitely. One final challenge you'd like to set the audience?
Final challenge. Understand what you want.
Yeah.
Understand what you want. So let's say, I don't know, say you want to own your own company.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to own your own company. Whatever that company is, whether it's whatever it is. Wake up every morning and say as if it's already happening. So for example, mine was like, I want to be in the UFC. I'd be like, I am in the UFC.
Okay.
I am the UFC champion. I am whatever. So you have to speak it as if it's already happened. So speak about that part of your journey as if it's already happened. So if you want to, whatever, own a gym, like I have a gym. Do you know what I mean? Speak it as if it's already happened. Give yourself that goal every day. Maybe speak just say five times. I am your name. I am this. I am that it's already existed.
Nice. I like it. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for being part of it.
It was good.